Peace and grand rising to the heirs. Today is February the 3rd, 1441 on the ancient moon calendar, and 2021 on the ancient Greco-Roman calendar, actually, because we came up with that calendar too. There's a question in the chat, and I want to make sure that we address it because it's important. Justice C. Petit L asks, Islam Empress, when we hold over judgment in court actions, would that be the same as putting them on parole or probation pending their behavior? Also, would we withhold sending arrest command to Provost Marshal? Yes is the answer to the question. When we hold over judgment, all we're saying is we're going to hold this judgment over your head, and then we're going to watch what you do. Because the reason we did it where the fake one doing business as fake Postmaster General, we held over that judgment because we want them in subject status doing what they've been doing, but be in subject status doing it. He's not a Postmaster General where we're concerned. He's not. He's a subject doing something, occupying a space. In the corporate side, he's not even occupying a sovereign space. We're the postmasters. So we're telling him, hold it right there. Just hold right there. Do what you're doing, and everybody that's there at the post office, do what they're doing until we come. And when we come, it's going to be a peaceful transition to those responsibilities. So all we're saying is hold on a minute. We're on our way, and get everyone ready to start so that the transition is smooth. And then we would withhold sending the arrest command until after justice is given. And justice being given is when we send the corporate of one of them, we send the corporate to judgment. Decapitation is removal from office. And so when we remove the corporate, then the subject gets in subject status properly, and the subject can stay here on the land, but they can't hold any office. They're just subjects doing things, doing work for the Moors. So all we're saying is we're the head of the post office. We're the head of all these resources, and everybody that's there right now, including the Moors who are in citizen status, everybody's going to have to is being put in their rightful status. So even the Moors there are going to have to proclaim their nationality too in order to stay there. And that's if they want to stay there. They don't have to stay there. They can just, because if they stay there, they're still in control of everything. So it's going to be quite the promotion for all Moors that are at those places who know who they really are. And everybody else just gets in subject status and stays there and knows their place, etc. And that's not a comfortable thought for some. We get that. We get that it's not comfortable for you. But it is what it is. And it's going to stay what it is. Because we have things to manage. We have resources to manage. And, That's how we do things. So hopefully that answers your question, Justice. Hopefully that answers the question. And in fact, let me just see. I'm going to unmute certain ones. Any more who can put in the chat that they want to, thank you, that they want to say something, let me know and I'll unmute you so that we keep the monkey business down in here. So are there any other questions about that? About any of the things that are happening right now in our nation? We can see that everything that we're doing and everything that we've stated in the past is manifesting. And we're really excited about that. But again, that's not making some people happy because, you know, they were hoping everything we said was not true, but it is true. And so we're just going to keep moving forward. We see also that the things that we said, the things that we said are absolute, are manifesting. Just one second, let me do it. Okay. What else? There is are there any other questions? Let me see. Okay. So here's where we're going from here. Where we're going from here is we're going to keep doing our court actions and keep doing all the things that we've been doing. They're working. Everything that we have stated previously, we can see that those things are working. And we just have to keep doing what we're doing in order to ensure that our nation continues to be built up, and we don't really even have to worry about frauds and fakes and things like that. We don't have to worry about them. We just keep our focus on nation building, because it has been their, you know, it's been the job of anyone who's not us to attempt to distract, but they can see that we're not being distracted. We keep going, and we're going to continue to keep going, you know, in all that we do. Now, I have a question for you. Does anyone know why our ancestors needed such huge domiciles? Because if you look at the buildings and things that our ancestors dwelled in, they're huge. The ceilings are huge. The walls are huge, etc. Everything is just gigantic. I can almost hear you typing, Justice CPTL. So we've heard in the past it being mentioned by our teachers. John 14:2 says, "In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you." And then in Matthew 6:33, it says, "Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things will be added unto you." And kingdom is actually it's a mistranslation. The word is empire. But the biblios that we see today is a version that is a mistranslated version. In other words, it's not translated by the most intelligent beings. It was actually translated by animals. So the reason that our ancestors had such huge spaces that they dwelled in, it has something to do with that. Both of those things I see in the chat. You said because we weren't as small. That's correct. And then Justice Rennie says air circulation. That's correct also. On a more ethereal level and on a more yes, all of that in the chat. I see all of that. The mansions, now as you know, in our culture, letters are interchangeable, vowels are interchangeable, and there's been hypothecation of words where they'll change just one letter, etc. The mansions are dimensions. The mansions are dimensions. They are the physical manifestation of dimensions. So based on the dimension that the Moor thinks of, based on the dimension that the Moors think from their mind and the dimensions that they obtain, that will determine the size of their domicile. Have you heard Albion sometimes say, sometimes psychologists will say that how a person lives and how they keep their house, quote unquote, is an indicator of the state of their mind. If their mind is cluttered, then their house will be cluttered too. Have you heard that before? That is actually, we're saying the same thing there. That's the truth. So depending, and this is key for where we're going, and this is why energy clearing is going to be so important as we continue to move, because when we're clearing the energy, we're getting the keys to the vast estate. And those keys make it so that we can manifest in this realm and in this dimension that which we know in the spirit realm. That's why the Bibliotext says, in my Father's house are many mansions. Many mansions means many of us have reached that dimension in our minds where we can make that manifest on this plane. But you actually have to seek that plane first. If you seek that plane, you will see clearly through. You'll see your way through to everything manifesting on this level, in this dimension. But that must be the goal, is seeking the higher thought and the higher consciousness. The higher thought and higher consciousness, if you want to boil it all the way down to what should be our primary goal every day throughout the day, is clear energy. And when we clear the energy, then the ancestors give us the thought. They fill it with something, because nature abhors a vacuum. In other words, there can't be any spaces in our lives, no voids. So we have to fill those voids with thoughts that are clear and clean. So when let's just say when our meetings are, when an inferior energy interrupts our meetings or attempts to interrupt the meetings, because they can't interrupt them. They know that because we keep going. But whenever an inferior energy enters the meeting, they want to disrupt and create a space where distraction can come in. but they have to create the space for the distraction, and that creation comes from us. If we create the space for them to distract us, they will. That's the way it is even now out in where we, out in the out in our territories. There are things that are that were being done to distract us previously. So when they come in, if we don't create the space in our minds, because you've heard the term about people renting space in your mind. If we don't create the space, if we boot them out and we don't create the space for them to do that, they can't do it. And then we fill that space with our study of ourselves. And then when we create that space and we say, okay, ancestors within us, because see, we don't need anything coming from out there and being put in this space. We want what's within us to come forth. So we don't go out, we don't look out there and say, ancestors, send me some information. We don't have to do that. The information is already within us. All we have to do is look. Look for it. Study. And then speak to the ancestral energies, the ancient energies that are in our bloodline. Our bloodline, there never was a time when our bloodline was not. Our bloodline has always been and always will be. So it already contains the memory of the information. The exercise that we have now is to clear our energy. So when people make you angry, or if people are talking bad about you, or if people are attempting to, gossip, or sometimes this can come from people who are close to us, where they want to pick up the phone and dump a bunch of garbage energy in our ear about someone else or about us. Whenever those attempts are made, yes, we love them, but we can stop them from dumping that energy on us because it is a distractor from the answers we seek. There are answers that are coming now that help you see all the way down the road that this is a wrap. We already got everything. Everything is already done. All we have to do is clear the energy so that our ancestral energies within us can keep speaking and manifesting. And then we keep manifesting. So the ancestral energies that are in the higher dimensions have always been here because we've always been here. Our job is to be the portal for the information to come through. And the only way we can be the portal for the information to come through is by clearing our energy. And that ancestral energy is already in us. It's just going to expand and fill up the space. And continue to expand and fill up the space. So then we'll be able to get the answers. And then when it expands and fills up the space, then when you turn on your computer and you start doing your research and you start looking in books, as soon as you open the book, bam, what you're looking for is going to be right there. Because you created the space where the energy attracts the answer. But again, if we allow the fraud to come and distract us, it doesn't matter what a monkey is doing over in the corner, jumping around, turning flips and all of that in a meeting. If everyone turns their back to that behavior and focuses on the meeting, and turn your back mentally to that behavior and focuses on our energies and the meeting, then they're not going to be able to do anything. Because we've not created the space for them to even speak. if you'll notice, when we silence the monkey behavior like we've done just now, we silenced it. When you silence it, they leave. They leave the meeting on their own. I don't even have to boot them out. I just have to keep them quiet because I'm not creating the space for them to speak. The meeting is not locked. It's open. But we're not creating the space for them to speak, so they just leave. So now we can focus on nation building and stay focused on nation building. Why? Because we were able to focus while they were over there cutting up and doing craziness. And that way, we don't have to decapitate everyone. They can't hold office anyway. They never did. Never had an office. We can just put them in subject status ourselves. We do that. And that's what we've done to the ones who interfere in the meetings. We just put them in subject status, and they have to be quiet. And the Moors can still speak, because you all can just type in the chat, send me a text message, however, or I can unmute, and everybody can say whatever it is that's on their heart. We just want to be able to speak to each other. So,
Good.
Okay. So now everyone you can star 6 if you want to say something. But first we had to remove the space that comes from fraud entering.
Do you really think that we've gone away, Pauline? We're still here. Pauline.
Hold on just a minute. Now
what's the
watch
problem,
this,
Pauline?
y'all. Watch this. Watch. See? Quiet. Complete silence. We're in complete control of that energy. It's energy. And we're going to stay in control of it. So, again, no one on this landmass can speak unless we give them permission to speak. Otherwise, they have to be quiet. Now, that's a good question in the chat. When the spouse is not rising, what is suggested? Keep rising. Keep rising. Just keep rising. Because you can't really let anyone stop you from your grand rising. No one can stop you from your grand rising. So when your spouse is not rising, that's not something that we can force on them, because no one is going to be forced to do anything. No one is forced to do anything. We just keep doing what we're doing. That's about the size of it. And stay focused on nation building. Because for some of us, for some Moors, even the spouse situation is a test for them. Even the spouse situation is a test. And we have to pass that test. Pass that test and keep the peace at the same time. That's what we have to do, pass the test and keep the peace at the same time. So that's what we're doing. All of us, all Moors are doing that, where spouses and things are concerned, and where other Moors are concerned, because we can't make anyone, not even other Moors, we can't make them grow. They actually have to choose to rise. They have to choose to. And if they don't choose to do that, that can't stop us. You know? It can't stop us. And it's not going to stop us. I mean, and that's something that even with the children, with the heirs, we can't even force our heirs to grow. We can't. Our heirs have to grow when they're ready. But what we can do is right at birth, we can begin molding and shaping and making them and guiding them in the direction that they should go. That's why the Biblio says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. And that's the most important thing about where we're going and what we're doing is now, today, this very day, no more has to send their child to a Rothschild education camp. We have enough information and enough empresses doing it to have our own schools. We have enough for that. If you look back at some of the videos that we've done in the past, those videos point to lessons and lesson plans. We put out a lesson plan. Some of the empresses had put together a meal plan as well for the heirs, so that they don't have to go. And then we've also put together documents that put the fakes on notice that our heirs don't live in their jurisdiction, and that our heirs, are under our jurisdiction, our sovereign guidance, and they don't need fake institutions and animal camps, etc. So that's where we are in all of this. Is we have everything we need now, everything, and we've always had everything we need to continue to do all that we need to do in terms of training up the heirs. And it's not training, it's erudition. We have everything we need to do that. So we're spouses and heirs, etc. For example, I know of couples where, let's just say, the empress is rising and growing, etc. And maybe her emperor is a little less enthused about it. But if she stays focused, after a while, even if they don't have the conversation about it, he's on the sidelines doing research and kind of checking out to see what she's doing, and seeing. And this is the thing about the ancestors with that type of energy, is the ancestors will ensure that the spouse sees what they need to see in order to know that what she's doing is correct. But we as empresses cannot force it on anyone. You see, we can't force it on anyone, and nor do we want to force it on anyone. All we want to do is make sure that what we're doing is what we should be doing. Keep going. At all, no matter what, we have to keep going. And this is what I'm seeing too, those who may have been in more science and they say, I'm not doing that ever again, or I don't want to be a part of them, they always end up coming back, but it's only because the door is not closed. It's never closed. Any more who say, I don't want to be a part of that. You know, can you put monkey blood in your body? If you don't take your blood out and put monkey blood in your body, then you still a part of it. It's kind of like that, you know, it's good vibe of that whole mafia piece, where, you know, we can't go anywhere without each other. And we can attempt to separate in our mind. We can attempt to do that, but even then, if we're really seeking, we're going to run right back into each other. And it's going to be a beautiful reunion. So, you know, every blue moon we'll see somebody say, I don't want to be a part of that anymore. It's okay to say that. Go take the break that you need. But you can't change your blood. It's just not, it's not going to change. Not in this life or the next one. It's going to stay the same. So, we're in this for the long haul. And spouses will come when they're ready. And they won't come if they're not ready. But our ancestors and this that we're doing is so laser sharp that one can rise and the other one rise at a different speed. Everyone's waking up. Despite what you might see and despite what they might say, everyone is waking up. We're just at different levels of wake up. Even the people that seem like they're in a coma, they can feel that something's not right. They can feel it. They can feel it.
Good.
They can feel it. There's someone who had a question.
Yeah, why do you still receive your VA benefit?
I said someone, not something. I said someone, not something. Someone. Islam. Okay. So dimensions, so
Islam?
Go ahead, Empress. Go ahead, Empress.
I just wanted to make a statement about what you're saying. And for the last couple of weeks, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
For the last couple of weeks, I've been looking around because a lot of the Albions are really interested in the architecture we left behind, our ancestors. And so I've been watching a lot of those programs, and at one point, I'm going to name her. Her name is Michelle Gibson. She's one of the biggest ones, and she's also actually seeking out, seeking out the Moorish history. And she says more, and she's interviewed a Moorish couple.
Yes.
But at one point, she's looking around at the landscape, and she said, "I truly believe that these grand mountains are architectures of the Moors." So would that lead me to believe that we have no idea of the power that we have lying, that's been dormant for so very long. We are so powerful. We don't understand it ourselves yet. And I've just been really, you know, amazed at who we truly are. I'm getting just a little glimpse, I know, even with this. But I hear what you're saying this morning, and I think you're right on. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Islam, I yield.
Islam, yes. Thank you, Empress. Our estate is so vast. Eye has not seen nor ear heard just how vast. When the Moors came here in October, I had the opportunity to show them a little bit of what the estate that is covered looks like. The building is huge. It's huge, and it's covered by dirt. It has dirt on it, on top of it, and trees growing and all of that, growing around it, etc. And so what we're doing now is just getting to the point where we can uncover everything that has to do with us. That's what we're doing. We're getting to the point, we're setting things in order so that, can you all hear me? I want to make sure you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. We're putting ourselves in the place where we use our own. See, our estate is too vast even for a fiat treasury. Our estate is too vast for a fiat treasury. We have to have our own treasury backed by gold. We had to. We didn't have a choice, so now we have it. And all we're doing now is continuing to set that in place. Because one building, just the uncovering and the revelation, because we're in revelation now too, the revelation of the empire, one building is so vast and so monumental, so huge, that we have to have our own economy for that. We have to. So when we talk about mansions and dimensions, clearly we've risen because the next dimensions are being shown to us. Clearly we have risen. And that's how you can tell, too, is you can tell how our nation and our government has grown by the dimension that we operate in and by what we're working on. You can look and see what someone's working on and know that, okay, they're at this place or they're at that place. You can tell by the majority of their conversations what dimension they dwell in. And that's not putting anybody down. It's just telling the truth. It's actually uplifting, because those who spend a lot of time talking about Moorish and more stuff, sometimes you can go out there on social media and the majority of the posts on the Moorish page is valuable, priceless information that we need. That's how you know that Moor is dwelling in a worthy dimension, a dimension that's worthy of them and their nobility and their thought process. They dwell in higher dimensions, and it's evident by the manifestation of what's on their page. So this is one thing I'm seeing about even the mansion piece and, you know, the material and all of that stuff, because some people say, oh, you know, the Moors own everything. We don't really need to be seeking that stuff. It's coming anyway. It's coming anyway, just because we keep elevating our own thoughts. Because we're elevating our thoughts, Everything that belongs to the heirs is manifesting. You can't elevate your thought without elevating your surroundings. The surroundings are going to elevate automatically. Automatically. It's already manifesting. Because as you start seeing how those who elevated their thoughts throughout history lived, see, those ones doing business as CEOs and et cetera of these quote-unquote companies and corporations, et cetera, the only reason they were able to live the way they lived previously, because that's past tense, the only reason they were able to do that is because they elevated their thoughts to things, to the bottom rung of the Moor's thought. They reached for higher thought, something other than swinging in trees and distracting people's meetings. They reached for higher. And we said, okay, reach for higher, and we will give you the energy that you need to get higher. And it will manifest in this realm. That's why all of them had to be Masons. They had to pledge an oath to Masonry, to Ma Sun Ri. They had to, so that their thoughts could be elevated in as much as they can, because they can't elevate even nowhere close to the Moors. They can't. It's just not possible. And Moors will see that as our estate continues to unveil itself, and as we continue to elevate our thoughts. There's a reason why we are who we are by bloodline and birthright, and that's not an ego trip. That's a science statement and a thought and a consciousness statement. There's a reason. I was looking at a video this morning and I posted it on social media, and maybe I'll show a little bit of it here if I can. But I'll put the link to it in the chat. Let me do it that way. I'll put the link to the video in the chat. Just a moment. Let me see if I can do that. Okay. There's the link to the video that tells everyone, it's a clear indicator of where we are. The fact that this information is coming out now to us and being made available to us. I used to wonder why it is in the place that fake Israel used to occupy. Fake Israel used to occupy a land over there that has something called it's called the Temple Mount or Mound. Whenever they say mount and mountain, they really mean ancient Moorish mound, M-O-U-N-D, or M-O-U-N-D-E, depending on which language you're writing in. And the Temple Mound, yes, occupied Palestine, etc. Yes, absolutely. And Palestine and Philistine are the same thing. I used to wonder what it was about the Temple Mount that caused such ruckus over there, and why the ones doing business as fake Christians hated the building so much. I've seen video where they would interview Christians, those doing business as Christians, who would leave here and go there to see all of the quote-unquote holy sites, and they would say things like, we just need to take a bomb to that building. You know, that's what they would say, you know. the fake Christians would say that about the Temple Mount, and I'm like, what is it about that building that they don't like? What is it that they don't like? And now I know the only way that they can get into the Temple Mount is through the gate of the Moors. That's the name of the gate. It's called the gate of the Moors, or the Moors gate, rather. It's called the Moors gate. And in Arabic, it's Bab Imarabi, Bab Imarabi, the gate of the Moors gate. And if you're not of the bloodline and birthright, the only way you can get in there is you got to come through the Moors. Now, that's symbolic of this landmass here. That's symbolic of this land. In order for you to get here, you have to come through the Moors. And the way that the Moors are manifesting that is by proclaiming our nationality on the public record, getting our own sovereign national identification, terminating all corporate contracts, and then demonstrating our sovereign status. And anyone who does not have a national ID from the Moors, you're not going to be able to stay here. You're putting yourself in jeopardy. You're putting your freedom in jeopardy. So fair warning, you know, and it's not really a warning, it's the law. A warning indicates that something bad is going to happen. It's nothing bad that's going to happen, but you need to get, unless you try to stay here and don't acknowledge the sovereign status of the heirs and get your own self properly marked, identified. Period. So our estate is beginning to reveal itself, and we're preparing for that now. And again, it's not an overnight process. This is something that we're going to be revealing and uncovering and peeling back the layers of this vast estate one by one, you know. So if you have a moment, take the time to look at the video link that I put in the chat, and I'll also put that video link under this video on YouTube at Like Tajiri Bay channel, so that you can look at that video and see them talk about the Moors Gate and what they've done and what the security is, etc. Now, when it comes to the security of places like that, we have already begun to get the Moorish Vanguard active and moving on the land. And some vanguards have been active and already. Some have been active previously. We're doing it here at West, and we encourage all Moors to become the active vanguard in your territory with white turbans and fezzes and white shirts with military battle dress uniform. And put peacekeeper on your uniform somewhere, mark it as peacekeeper, and start doing postmaster duties and securing the vast estate in your territory. And notify. I cannot stress that enough. Please notify all foreign occupying courtes, because when it comes to places like the Temple Mount and also the places here, because see, once we start uncovering the buildings that are here, we're going to have security for those buildings, because they are holy sites. They're holy sites, and you can't just go running through there, you know, muddy shoes, trampling the place up. Those places are all holy sites that we're going to reveal. We have the beautiful opportunity to show the whole earth our ancient vast estate. And so everything that we're doing is in preparation for that, for being able to uncover and reveal the vast estate and to talk about our history, herstory, and to honor our foremothers and forefathers so that our days will be long upon this land which the law has given us. So that's about all that I have to share today, and thank you for your sharing too, Empress Cynthia, appreciate it. And Justice Sipa TL, thank you for your question. Justice Rennie, Empress Aaliyah, thank you too for your participation as well. And are there any other questions before we go? Any other questions? Let me just make sure. Okay, if there are no other questions, we will stop here and then we'll meet again on, let me just make sure. Yeah, you can start 6 if you have any questions. Other than that, peace and grand rising to the sovereign.
Grand rising.
Grand rising. Have a powerful day.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Islam, peace.